welcome to the Spotify Greenroom. This is Stephen Shiels on the Stephen Shiels radio show. And, we've got some interesting things going on in our world. Basically, how our economic growth has been impacted due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic. Apparently, Australia's in a recession at the moment, which makes it very, very hard for small business owners. And this can be tough, right now you've got the 6 o'clock news going on about all these protests going on in Melbourne. And people are just ignoring public health orders and public health orders advice from the professors and our top-notch epidemiologists, which is stupid. People are just stupid. Alright, going to these protests, fucking hoarding shit and Bunnings and all that, thinking and panic buying, and they think the world's gonna end. This pandemic shit is gonna pass soon, I wonder how Joe Biden's handling the problem with the Taliban in the Middle East. Because, you got the Daily Telegraph. I'm not a newspaper reader, I'll tell you that for a fact. How you going, Jarek? Welcome. You want to come on stage? Just talking about how will the world move on. Jatenda, how are ya? Come on stage, introduce yourselves. How are ya?
What up?
How's things with you, dude?
Good. Pretty good.
Yeah, what have you been up to today?
Just chilling.
Man.
I just started school again, so
yeah,
doing homework.
What time is it where you are?
It's about 4 a.m. Yeah, my sleep schedule is a bit fucked up.
I remember my university days. I'm with you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you sound like you're bright awake at 4 a.m.
No, I'll probably end up going to sleep pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. How do you feel about Joe Biden, Jatenda? Hey, Jarek.
About Joe Biden,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
How do you think? How you going, Riley? How do you think the world will move on with the economy after this pandemic, guys?
I think, Joe Biden is. I don't think, especially for the Democratic voters, it definitely wasn't their first choice. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of them don't support, especially the people that voted for Bernie. I voted for Bernie.
Yeah.
And they just.
Well, that's where the third party vote split comes into question, though.
So, okay. Yeah, because the US electoral system's weird. You guys have a weird system to Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
It's, in my opinion, incredibly outdated, but that's a bit of a sensitive subject for a lot of voters in the U.S.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about Donald Trump if he gets re-elected?
I don't know. That'd be crazy.
What if Donald Trump was right all along? That'd be weird, eh?
He's too fucking stupid to have been right all along. Sorry.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I don't know. Huh?
Who would replace Donald Trump in his party? Who's the next in line?
I think Ron DeSantis is going to run.
How do you feel about Ron DeSantis?
There's been talk of that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the only person I can really think of.
Would you rather Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump?
I don't know. I don't know, dude. We'll have to see, man.
No, it's interesting, and like I'm a musician, Jatender. You're doing theology. What,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do, Riley? You studying or working?
No, I work now. I finished college about a year ago, and I work in real estate now.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome! That's awesome, dude.
Well, how about you? What do you do?
Entrepreneur, content creator,
And where are you from?
Sydney, Australia.
Okay. Damn, what time is
What
it
about?
there?
It's about 12 past 6 in the evening.
Oh, all right. About
What about?
1:12 a.m. here.
Yeah. So, what college degree did you do, Riley?
I studied business marketing.
Nice. So, did you take out a student loan?
I did.
Yep. And
It's the
is that
American
hard
way,
to?
right?
Yeah. Fuck. That's expensive.
It's brutal. It's a horrible system. Probably the thing that frustrates me about it more than anything is that I took out two separate loans, one through the government and one private loan,
Mm.
and the government loan is about 3 times the interest percentage as the private loan, and it was marketed so heavily as the affordable option for students. So the majority
Fuck.
of my college debt
Fucking
came from
hell.
the government loan, and that's the one screwing me over more than anything.
So, how often do you have to pay it? Like, do they deduct it out of your paycheck, or do you have to
Well,
pay it yourself?
so the situation on that is that you're typically given about 1 year from graduation before you have to start making payments on a government loan.
Yeah.
However, when Trump was president, uh, during the peak of the pandemic, he postponed payments on it for about 6 months, and now that's continued to get postponed more and more, and now it's pushed back till January of 2022.
Yeah.
Although during your payment period, you would pay monthly with a pretty heavy interest rate.
Hmm. And what happens if you don't make payments on your student loan? What's the laws?
Yeah.
Well, if you miss one payment, you're going to get about a 16% interest tacked on for that payment, and
Shit.
it'll hurt your credit real bad. So as far as getting a loan on a house or a car, you're going to be in really rough shape. And
Hmm.
if you miss several payments in a row, they'll send you to collections. And collections, basically, what they do is they call it garnishing your wages. They'll take money directly out of your paycheck
Hmm.
at a really, really extreme rate until it's fully paid off.
Yeah, that's slack. That's harsh.
Yeah, this country is basically entirely run on your credit score. So it's
Is is
My
it
boy
true if you
Jack.
yeah, is it true if you have bad credit, it's harder to rent a property?
extremely. Property managers, the first thing they do when you apply is run your credit, which the funny thing is, when they run your credit, it actually decreases your credit score too. And if you don't have a credit score of probably minimum 600, nobody's going to rent you a place to live because they're gonna deem you irresponsible, assume that you'll be late on payments.
Well, say in Australia, you can have bad credit, but they'll still let you rent as long as you can show that you can pay your bills on time.
Yeah, from income history and that kind of thing.
So it's not like that in the US. That's weird.
It's taken into account much more heavily here than, as far as I'm aware, anywhere else in the world.
Man. So what happens if you can't get a place to rent? That's fucked.
Then good luck. Increase your credit score, or you get a co-signer with a better credit score, so that a mortgage broker or a renter has somebody else to fall back on with a better credit score than you. So, for
Yeah.
example, if you have a horrible score but your parents have a great one and they co-sign for you, and then
Yeah.
you default on your loan, then they have to start paying for you. So it's like a
Mm.
fallback for them.
That's rigged.
It is.
That is rigged. So what's real estate like for you? Is it good pay? Is it easy?
It can be good pay. It is not easy. The market, especially where I live, is incredibly competitive right now.
Yeah.
Horribly difficult. Prices are massively inflated. Interest rates are low, which is good for buyers, but it's brutal. Prices are going up so extremely that a lot of first time home buyers can't afford a place. So
Shit.
it's pretty rough.
Man.
But it's an interesting career. I enjoy it. It's just there's pros and cons like any industry.
So is this a full-time job for you, Riley?
It is. I was part-time for a while, but I'm full-time in it now. It's it's not a 9 to 5. A lot of times I got to work at 10 o'clock at night or 7 a.m. on a Saturday. It's
Yeah.
when somebody's available, I have to be available. So it can be difficult, but I enjoy the flexibility and the relationship building of the industry. Uh, it fits my personality well, but it's definitely an unusual schedule.
Hmm. And what about your health care? How are you coping paying for your health insurance?
Well, I'm 24, and
Yeah.
here you can remain on family insurance until 26, and my my mom is a government employee, so I currently still get free healthcare insurance through her until I'm 26, so about another year and a half.
Yeah.
And at that point, better hope to be married.
Yeah. Shit. Because it's expensive.
It's absolutely insane. I had a health situation a couple months ago that was pretty bad, and I had to go to the emergency room a few times, and they billed me $1,000 for each visit. One of them lasted about 5 minutes. thousand
Yeah.
dollars.
Shit.
Yeah,
Man.
it's a rough system here for sure.
It seems like Robert Kiyosaki said, if you have money, you survive. And if you don't, people die.
Very true.
So you guys don't have a Medicare like Canada.
No, definitely not like Canada. There's been some systems that have come into place and gone away over the years. There was when Obama was president, there was a sort of nationalized healthcare option, but a lot of the country, especially now more than ever, is very against nationalized healthcare. Um, when Trump was president, I would say that the Republican Party was probably at the most extreme here than it has been in a while. Whether you support it or not, I'm not even making a political statement there. It's just the way
Mm.
that it was and that it is, and people are more outspoken now than in the past. And so with some of Biden's plans about healthcare coverage, it's been shot down very quickly, and I don't see anything like that happening in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, you got all this shit going on with the Taliban now, which is
Oh,
weird.
yeah, that's it's been basically the news here 24/7. A lot of people did not approve of the way that Biden decided to pull troops out. Now,
Yeah.
Trump also wanted troops removed. However, when it came to Biden's term and he removed troops, people were okay with it. They were not okay with the way that he did it. People wanted a more secure plan in place, and you saw what happened. Like the entire world saw what happened. Um, it was pretty
So,
horrible.
because Barack Obama said he was going to pull troops out years ago,
Hmm.
and he really didn't.
Yeah,
You
it,
know.
it 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 had become sort of a slow removal over the last 10 years or so, but there had always still been a presence there, and then it happened very very quickly, much more quickly than most of the country would have approved of.
Yeah.
And now there's a very extreme split on what people believe should have happened and how it went. Especially when it came to, some of the videos that became public of people storming the airfield and climbing onto the planes and all of that. And now it's continuing into the way of cities and states that are allowing refugees and those that aren't, and plans that are or not in place for what to do when people arrive here. And some of the more liberal cities like Seattle are much more welcoming than some of the more conservative areas. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens over the next month or so and how they deal with this influx of refugees.
Yeah, this is weird stuff. This is very weird.
It's hard for me to see, being from the United States, how people that aren't from here view these sort of massive world events. I'm always, every time something like this happens, my first thought is, what are people thinking that don't live here, that don't vote here? And unfortunately, for the last 5 or 6 years, it's hard for me to think that there's been a very positive outlook, especially traveling through Europe and just hearing the things that people say. It's sad for me sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I see we got Jack here. Jack, are you there? Hello? Jack? Uh, yeah, but that's the thing, Riley. That's it's like we got the newspapers in Australia reporting about this stuff.
Right, and it's just it's a strange thing living in this country and knowing that how much influence and how much reporting there is worldwide based on decisions that our leaders make, and then how much it reflects upon the citizens, whether or not you had any say or any control over what happened. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think some states of the US have become politically correctness society, PC?
That's a really interesting question. The conversation about political correctness has been a very hot topic for a long time here now, 10 years or so, to where some people believe political correctness has gone too far. People say you can't say anything anymore. You're going to get canceled. You're going to get, people are going to blow you up online over something that's no big deal. It, and it's definitely, the more conservative states are going to be the ones that are going to have a stronger opinion against what they believe to be political correctness. My personal opinion is that there's sort of a middle ground. I think it's much too broad of a term. I think some people will blame political correctness and say I can't say what I want to say, when really what they want to say is something racist or homophobic or xenophobic or whatever it may be. And then there are some people that take it much, much too far, and you're just kind of casually joking around, and people say, "Oh, you can't say that anymore." But there's a middle ground. There's I think there's an appropriate level to where, as long as you're not saying something that's horribly offensive to a religion or a sexual orientation, whatever it may be, that it I think people should be able to be comfortable in what they're saying. But people that have a wide influence, I think, need to be more cautious than some are.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Donald Trump said some racist things too when he was in power, and
Oh,
he
constantly.
pissed a lot of people off.
Well, yeah. I mean, I again, I like to say it's not even a political statement at all. That I mean, he had said some horribly outrageous things that I just believe are never okay for a leader of a country to say or to have done, to be
Mm,
recorded saying, to have people reporting on what they said. That even if you believe in his financial policies, his military policies, that sort of thing, that there's a certain level of a way you have to carry yourself when you lead a country, especially one as large as ours and one with such a worldwide presence. That I, there, some things are just too far off limits, that sort of thing, and a lot of people respected him for saying, he said what nobody else is willing to say, and
mm.
and that's okay to an extent, but I mean, there's no call for for the president of this country to be making racist remarks.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it, it it just becomes embarrassing.
Oh, absolutely, and it's not good. I mean, like the year of 2020, everyone was just on edge all the time.
Oh yeah, it was brutal around here. Some of you know, the riots, the protesting, the storming the Capitol building. I mean, it was intense for quite a while around here. It was just a really really hot time, and people got really nervous. There was a lot of people buying up stockpiles of guns and ammunition everywhere,
Shit.
expecting some sort of civil battle. And it, to an extent, I don't blame some people for feeling that way. For people that lived in the cities where they were seeing these battles in the streets. Um, Although, I would hope it would never come down to a, a militia battle shootout. I
Mm.
But that's people here believe really strongly and in their right to own guns, and that's not something that I have an issue with. But the stockpiling and all that, it gets a little concerning.
Yeah, South Park predicted all some of this stuff in their episodes.
Oh yeah, they always seem to.
you
They're
know,
always they're always ahead, just like the Simpsons.
oh yeah, Jack, you there? Jack? Yeah, can't hear you.
Well, I gotta get headed out here, but it was good chatting with you, Stephen.
Yeah, you too, Riley. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I hope you have a good day over there.
I will. You too.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the world we're living in our current political agendas that we have as well. It's like I feel society is just being controlled. Jack, you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Jarek, how are you?
Good. I just had to update the app. I didn't realize you guys couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Anyway, how do you see the world moving on?
Honestly, well, I'm from Canada, right? And I personally think that Canada itself has been handling the COVID crisis pretty well, in my opinion. Looking at it from
Yeah.
a world standpoint, I think it's going to take time. We've obviously been very crippled by this. It's taken a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money. It's not something we can easily walk away from.
Mm.
We've also got the issue with the Taliban, as Riley was talking about earlier. And that
Yeah.
actually, yeah, it's a screwed up situation. no matter what happens at the end of the day, the world is going to take a hit. The economy is either going to fall or it's going to come back stronger than ever. But at the end of the day, it's up to us, the citizens, the people of the world, to fix this issue. We can't just leave it up to, the governments and all that. We have to fix it as, ourselves. We have to step in. We got to go, hey, this can't happen. Cause, like, from a Canadian standpoint, right? Like, look at, Trudeau. Trudeau, while he hasn't been the best prime minister, he's trying, and I'll give him that. As soon as COVID hit, he was all on top of it. He was making sure families were taken care of. He was making sure workplaces were protected. Now, in the place where I live, I've witnessed a lot of small businesses close, and unfortunately, you can't help that. But there's a time where I hope that these businesses will come back when the economy gets better, when COVID is, nothing but a distant memory. So yeah, honestly, it all depends on us how, the world is gonna, work around this. Yeah, that's my take on it, really.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the Canadian Prime Minister, because we don't hear a lot about Canada and Australia, is he on the right or the left?
I'm trying to remember. I think he's not NDP. I honestly can't remember. Like, I don't even pay attention to my own politics much. I care more about what goes outside of Canada. I know a lot about what happens inside of Canada, but like personally for me, I've never elected or never done the elections. I didn't really care much about it, but outside of the world, it's like it's the outside of the world's pretty fucked.
Oh, tell me about it. It's fucked up all over, even in Australia too.
Yeah.
It's just our premier's pissed a lot of people off, and there's nothing we can do. But how have you kept busy? Do you guys still have restrictions, or you guys gone back to normality in Canada?
We're starting to go back to normality. It's, how do I explain it? We're still on lockdown a little bit. It's lifted more. I think in the next month or so, we're gonna lift the face mask restriction. Cases are still coming and going, but other than that, like I said, the government in here has had a pretty good lockdown on COVID since it started. We've been pretty safe with it so far. I mean, Toronto, of course, got hit pretty bad. Sudbury got hit pretty bad. Outside of Ontario, I don't really know how it got hit, but I know inside of Ontario, we got a pretty big hit, but we handled it pretty decently well. We're starting to recover. If we do take another hit, I don't think the small businesses will survive. With the amount of lockdowns we've had, it's really killed the small business.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's absolutely massacred. I've seen places that have been around for years just disappear.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah.
Do you think that? I think this is worse than the 2008 global financial crisis. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
Because even in the GFC, well, there was no lockdown. Yes, there were businesses that were gone, but here too in Australia, businesses have just shut.
Yeah.
And that's why I think if you can support your small business as much as you can, you're better off doing that rather than giving your money to a corporation in this time.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like me personally, I work at a theater. It's a little part-time thing. I'm saving up for college. but
Yeah,
it's something. That place, it's definitely going to survive. It's like the life of my city, in my opinion.
yeah,
It's a place where families can come and relax and not think about what's going on in the outside world and just sit down and watch a movie and stuff like that. And I deal with families a lot, but it's like as long as they're able to come in, watch a movie, have fun, it
yeah,
gets them away from the whole COVID thing, and that's a big
yeah.
part of it, Mike.
Have you had COVID-19, Jarek?
No, I've been lucky not to get it.
Have you known anyone who's had COVID-19?
Um, I know a few people that got it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
Strange, isn't it?
yeah.
But that's
In
the
my opinion,
yeah,
I think it's just the flu, but like deadlier.
yeah. Just spread so quick.
Yeah, it when it hit us, it was like yeah, when it hit us. Excuse the noise for a minute. I'm just gonna door. Um, when it hit, it was like a bombshell. No one expected it. It was just
Yeah.
all this things happening in China, and then the very next day, it's like, okay, this is an issue. And it started like right before 2020, I believe. Like it was
Mm.
2018, or actually it started way back in 2015. It was a very low profile because they were testing it, if I remember correctly. I could be completely wrong, but they were like testing it in a lab or something, and then it got out, infected something. And then, I believe it was some dude ate a bat, and then boom, that was the catalyst. Like the
I
entire
know.
city was infected within hours. The
Weird, eh?
spread of it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that it hit us so hard and we were just completely unprepared, it was scary, dude. Like I sat there, I was
Mm.
living with my grandma for a little bit, and I managed to graduate college, or not graduate college, graduate high school, and have my graduation right before this shit went down. I had a
Mm.
relationship for a few months, and then when that broke off, boom, the world went to hell. It was
Mm.
absolutely insane. And now that COVID's starting to die down, we have the Taliban issue again. And it's like, well, how are we going to handle it this time?
Yeah, I mean, in Australia, we got the Delta strain hanging around, affecting young people. And yes, this
I've never heard of it.
Taliban issue is, yeah, it's one of the strains of the virus. You can pick it up in the air. Anyway,
Oh,
this Taliban issue is just ridiculous.
yeah,
Why
it
the
totally is.
Americans
It's
pulled
like,
out all of a sudden,
yeah, and the thing
you
is, like,
know?
I heard you guys talk, like I said, I was trying to chime in earlier. It's just the app wouldn't let me speak. But
Yeah,
um, like with the whole Obama thing, if I remember correctly, Obama tried to pull out. I could be wrong. Obama tried to pull up the troops, but the conflict increased the moment he tried. And the thing with Biden and pulling out the troops is, no matter what way you slice the cake, there's not gonna be a right time to pull troops out. Right now, it's a terrible time, but unfortunately, every time we're gonna pull out troops, it's gonna be a bad time. The
yeah,
reaction to this is absolutely insane. Like the fact of the matter is, the Taliban was like, I'm going to compare it to COVID for a second. Taliban was like, boom, an overnight thing. It was right there and then. They took the government, they toppled it, and it was like, well, what happened to all the training we've been given their soldiers and stuff? And then all this new information comes to light that all the funds and all that we've been giving were literally basically just spent on hookers. And it's like,
yeah.
wow,
Shit.
it's upsetting because it's like um I'm well, I wouldn't say I'm patriotic, but I'm very militaristic in a sense. Anything military, I love talking about. And like one of my goals is to join the Canadian Army, and Canada is more of the world's peacekeeper, and we've been trying our best to help help the residents of Afghanistan the best we can. And America's got soldiers trapped, we've got soldiers trapped, and there's no good way out of this. Somebody I know was like, oh, the Taliban isn't a threat. It's like they are. No matter what way you slice it, it's like look at Vietnam. America invaded Vietnam in like the 1900 era, and it was an invasion no matter what way you look at it. Unfortunately, it was a terrible thing, and they still lost. It's like, dude, you can't put down the country's residents. They will fight and they will win, no matter what way you look at it. It's the same thing with the Taliban. The Taliban, yeah, they're a mess right now, but at the end of the day, I would not ever underestimate the Taliban. Look what they did back in like 2000 and before that with Osama bin Laden.
The Taliban were originally called ISIS.
Yeah.
Or but then now they call themselves the Taliban, and I don't get it.
And we've been fighting ISIS for longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, goes back to all the way to the Russians.
Yeah, it's like this isn't a long war, and no matter what way you look at it, yeah, it's a war, and it's like no matter what, like war is a terrible thing for everybody. No one wins. No one wins. Yeah, like one country could be like, oh yeah, we beat this country, and it's like, no one won. We lost guys, they lost guys. There's no middle ground. The only thing that stopped was the war, and it's an endless cycle. It's never going to stop, no matter what we do.
I don't believe that.
What don't you believe about that, Jack?
Well, I believe that war has intentions to stop evil at some points, and I'm doing this off of just basic language, and this is all going to be like what do you call? I'm generalizing here, but I believe that some wars are to fight evil for the higher good.
Oh yeah, and I totally agree with that statement right there. I totally agree with that. Some wars are meant to fight evil. I mean, look at World War II. That was a war based off pure evil. We stepped in. I believe it was Britain, Canada. We all stepped in to try to stop Hitler, and it was a tough and very hard war because that man was a very evil individual. The stuff he did is never going to be forgotten. It was, it's to this day, it's a terrible thing. The fact that he could do it without any repercussions, and then we finally step in to stop him, and he just keeps doing these evil deeds. That's when it really became a war of good versus evil. Both world wars were the same thing. It was a war of good versus evil. And it's like, those are the types of war where there is a clear victor. Both sides lost a heavy toll, and surprisingly to this day, there's still bodies being found that were unaccounted for. There's still death tolls that are still being counted. Like D-Day itself, they don't have an accurate number of how many people died on D-Day, but it was all to stop this one man who was putting the world on the brink of a takeover. He was trying to take it over so that only certain people could live in it. That's evil. That in my eyes is pure evil. I believe this world should be able to live with everybody and everything, as equals. I believe, we shouldn't look at black people as black people. I believe we should look at them as our equals. The same thing with every other race. They should be our equals. And the way Hitler looked at it was essentially, if you're not white, you're dead. And that is a true evil right there.
Yeah, I think, it's just like in this day and age, it's identity politics have become so rich, and uh, uh, it's turned Martin Luther King's aim to look at the context of your character. No, wait, I'm getting lost all of a sudden. We were talking about war. I got to stay on that. Anyways, I'm just like now. I think the left these days is portrayed as like now all that matters is your race and who is the victim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's now like we're not looking at the context of your character. We're looking at the context of your victimhood. Are you a woman? Are you a black woman? Are you are you white? You're on this like hierarchy or whatever. It's just sort of really weird and I think unhealthy, and makes the left out to be sort of like really weird and with their identity politics.
Well, who's right at the end of the day, the right or the left?
Oh, yeah, that's a huge discussion, and I think we should just not forget the past and look at the past to deal with what we do with the future. And I don't know. I think a little bit of humility in what you know. I think, and a little bit more honesty and truth and like where you are. I mean, like this year has changed my life completely. I mean, I used to get on these like this soap opera and take on these sort of leftist ideas and speak about them like I know the situation or something like that. Like I know what I'm talking about, but I really didn't. And then, I looked inward and now I see that I don't know much. I'm sort of the fool here.
No, it's fine. It's like, I totally agree with you. Like, I remember back in 2016, like, I'm 19, right? I'm still pretty young. There's still a lot for me to learn. But, I've been putting my nose to the book. I've been learning about all this stuff that's going on. And the thing, like, way back in 2016, all right, I was in Saskatchewan visiting my mom. And I remember just, scrolling through the news on the internet and finding something about how my generation wants us to completely wipe World War II from the history books because it's too traumatizing for us to learn. And that really pissed me off because it's something, no matter how traumatizing it is, we need to learn. Because if we don't learn about it, we can't prevent it. It's something that definitely needs to be prevented because it's like, it's unfortunately, I don't mean this in a rude way, but this generation is too fragile. The slightest insult will shatter somebody's barriers and have them lock themselves away in their house for days. And it's a sad thing because it's like, it's when they sit there and they go, oh, well, World War II is too traumatizing for my generation to learn. It's okay, but what about the veterans that fought there? No matter what trauma you're going to get from learning about this, will never add up to the trauma that these guys got standing on that beach in Omaha watching as their friends got gunned down and their brothers and sisters and all that. It was shocking and it ticked me off. It really made me angry because it's like, if we don't learn about it, we can't prevent it. And that's the biggest thing. It's if we forget what happened, it'll happen again. And no matter what happens, it's probably going to happen again. Evil always finds a way. But if we learn about it and we see the signs, we can prevent it early. We can put a stop to it, and we can fight it. And it's like World War II, World War I. Those are necessary parts of history. Those need to be taught, and those are things we can't ever forget. And it's the fact that people want us to forget it that makes me a little upset.
Yeah, but you got to understand, whenever you study like politics or history in university, it gets one-sided, even in school.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah,
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two sides to the story as well. Adolf Hitler did write a book called Mein Kampf, but don't forget, Stalin was, in matter of fact, worse than Adolf Hitler.
He definitely was. Stalin was a terrible human being.
You should listen to the Hardcore History podcast, Dan Carlin. He talks a bit about Stalin.
Oh, I've heard about that. Hardcore History, yeah.
But, it's interesting, you get two sides to the story. I know Fox News, they're more right-wing by the sounds of it. They got CNN, they're left-wing. Do you guys prefer any news articles, or do you just have your own ideas?
I like to I like to listen to like the local news, like CTV. They're pretty non-biased about it. They tell both sides. There's no left or right. There's no left or right. They tell it straight, and it's a genuine news channel. And I like those types, like CNN and all that. I find they're too biased on one side. I prefer a straight middle.
I tune into the Joe Rogan Experience. I listen to Jordan Peterson's podcast. I listen to mostly commentators about this kind of stuff because I don't have time to look into my sources, even though I might have time on the weekends when I'm off work, but usually work on hobbies. I'm tuned into what else? Oh, Ab and Preach. Have you heard of that YouTube channel?
Who's that? I know
No,
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's interesting because he's more of a leftist by the sounds of it.
No, yeah, he's been called everything. He's become like a radical leftist or a radical right, and like he's really he is more of a leftist. But he brings everyone onto his podcast, which is I think one of the most successful things about his podcast. And I don't know, it's like it's still standing through these like polarizing times. He still seems to keep his good reputation. So yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna head on to bed. It's like 4:55 here.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired. Yeah. It was nice talking to you guys. Definitely, if I see you guys around again, I'll pop in and listen to you guys or whatever.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Jarek.
No problem, man. Have a good one, guys.
Night.
You too. Yeah, so Jack, it's interesting about news and Joe Rogan. So you a Joe Rogan fan?
Yeah, I am. I'm into Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, sometimes Ben Shapiro, but I mean, he sometimes can be a bit over too much sometimes.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. I mean, his episodes go for what, 3 hours?
Yes, sir. Yeah. They take up your time if you don't start paying attention.
I know. I prefer JRE clips.
Oh yeah, that's the much more convenient type. Yeah. It's he brings on comedians. He brings on conservatives. He brings on middle left. I mean, he's just like he basically is not a fan of the woke mob, and I'm sort of that's why I sort of like him because I agree with him on that. I mean, there's are you familiar with like sort of the wokest sort of views that I'm talking about?
Sort of. Tell me a bit more about it.
Like they bring up like white privilege. They bring up like they get into like gender identity, like they them. You have to announce your pronouns when you're speaking to people because you don't want them to assume your pronouns or something like that. There's like, I mean, like all men are scum, sort of like slogans or like, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Interesting.
It's just
Yeah,
there's slogans out there that the left subscribe to, and especially with like this whole gender theory where you can just pick your gender at any time, like even like depending on your mood or something. And I think I don't agree with it fully, but I do believe that there are. I think we're noticing that there are outliers when it comes to men and women. You know what I'm saying? Like there's differences between men and women, but sometimes there's like a masculine female, and sometimes there's a feminine male, and we should be accepting of those outliers. But this has become more of like, I don't know, a bit too radical for my taste. I mean, I believe that there is only men and women, and now that like that opinion all of a sudden these days is taboo to say because you don't want to offend the wrong, people. And when we're talking about these people, we're talking about these woke sort of activists.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the right to do that. They have the right to disagree with what I'm saying, and I have the right to disagree with what they're saying. But it's the censorship that's going on Twitter, YouTube, even Spotify, even a lot of these medias. And
interesting about censorship. You got Tom McDonald, who I was listening to on Spotify. He seems to be very right. Some of his lyrics are talking about Donald Trump and supporting him. So I don't get censorship in music, to be honest.
Tom McDonald was censored?
Yeah. No, his lyrics talk about Trump.
And then he was censored.
No, no, he's not censored, but you mentioned something about censorship. Like, I don't get that. I don't think music should be censored. But then people criticize people's lyrics if they're a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about censorship from from YouTube. Like a certain video is banned. Like if you post a video on YouTube talking about vaccine hesitancy, then it is taken off from YouTube. And
Facebook's done the same thing.
yeah. I think that stuff is a bit shady, and I think asking questions about the vaccine or masks or COVID, I mean, that's how we get the answers. We have to ask questions in order to get to the truth, and those questions might be offensive because they're, coming out of our heads, and we're just, I mean, I don't know. It's just like even asking questions about the efficacy of a mask or vaccine these days is polarizing, and I don't get that. I don't get why we can't be hesitant about the vaccine and not support it completely. You know, I don't know, the freedom of speech and thought, and I think that's a value that should be held to the highest, especially within Facebook and many of these platforms. But yeah, now these times are weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I feel that you get news media, right, and some of them are just more right wing, and then you get some that are left wing as well. It's weird.
Yeah, I like middle ground stuff, but a lot of people, it's hard to find that these days because we're so much, especially if you're on social media a ton. Like you'll certainly turn radical in like an hour if you just go through your YouTube algorithm or something like that and get too political on there. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting. I think we just need to, get to the truth and value it a bit more, better than hiding it, because we don't want to offend anybody because they might have a microaggression or be traumatized by some sort of lecture or opinion that somebody else has, and I mean, we need to be exposed to ideas that don't align with ours, because I mean, that's how you grow, and it's we need to grow in a civilization. We need to grow individually so that civilization can thrive from our growth, and it's just we contribute without knowing it sometimes. I know we can, seem small in our little country or city or something like that, but we do contribute by working and by, being our best.
Yeah, well, that's it. You just got to be the best that you can be, during these chaotic times too. And do you read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times? You into all that stuff?
No, not lately. Have you?
I have, but I'm more Australia focused. Like, I'm just looking at an article now from the ABC. Antarctic expeditioners at Mawson Station received critical supplies after a complex airdrop operation. This is in Antarctica. Just having a look at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I like hearing about other things besides COVID or the Taliban as well. Stuff like this. Antarctica. Antarctica's an interesting place.
Yeah, it's certainly cold down there. I've never been there before myself. Have you?
No, I'd love to. Does enduring COVID lockdowns prepare you for a life in the Antarctic? Wow, that's an interesting article.
Wait, what did that say?
Does enduring COVID lockdowns prepare you for life in the Antarctic?
It's funny.
Yeah. But these are news headlines too. And a lot of these press, it's business. And, going to what we're talking about, war. War is business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
many things are. I mean, your income, your what you buy is business. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of things are business related, and yeah, I don't think military is no different. But I haven't really explored the military too much. My
Mm.
brother was about to go into the Marines, which was a surprise. Him being a sort of you know dude, bro. I mean, he doesn't seem like a like a military, kind of guy. That
Mm.
I feel like he's a bit like sensitive, like anybody else. But you know, yeah, he was about to join the Marines and then quit at he didn't quit. He jumped out right before he was being like recruited or something. And
Mm.
and yeah, I haven't really explored how the military works. I know
Mm.
they go to war. What do you know about the military?
Well, for instance, veterans who get injured, the government just chucks them out, and it's very hard to get compensated.
No.
Uh, in Australia, PTSD, veterans get post-traumatic stress disorder when when they quit the military, which is sad, and then it's like they're forgotten. You're just a number, and pretty much it's like in school, it's the thing. You got to join the military as a career. It's
Hmm.
quite
Hmm.
sad.
I joined the military for a career. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, there's a risk anywhere you go. I mean, whatever job or career you pick. And you're saying that to, for a good career, you have to join the military in Australia. It's a generalization, but is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that in school, it's what it is. They make it out to be glamorous,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but
That's how my
you know,
brother looked at it in the,
yeah.
going into the Marines. Yeah.
So what made him quit? He just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. He was about to. He he was in Montana and was about to head out to Spokane,
Mm.
and uh he said I don't want to do it. He got like scared at the last minute and got out of there before he signed up. And he's 17, and so
Shit.
yeah, he got out of there before he made his final decision. I my dad was a bit more empathetic with him uh, doing that because he's a he's young and he probably didn't know what he was signing up for when he signed up for the military, and probably didn't have a good picture for what it would be like out there,
Mm-hmm.
fighting wars and stuff. But I think if I was in my father's shoes, I would send him out there. But I don't know because I don't think I have the
Mm-hmm.
maturity to know what was right or wrong to
Mm.
do. But he got out before he went into the Marines. So yeah, I don't know what his path is looking like now, but he's still in high school. So,
Mm.
so yeah.
Yeah. Well, end it there, Jack. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. It's been a good one, Stephen. Too.
Yeah, you're always welcome on, and yeah, happy to chat with you.
All right. You
See you, Jack.
have a good one, Stephen.
You too. Bye.